Comic books are an important contributing factor in many cases of juvenile.
Up in the sky!
Faster than a speeding bullet.
Holy, here we go again.
Hello and welcome to These Guys Have Issues, the podcast where we discuss current topics and issues within the comic book community. I'm your host, Carter Hutchison.
I'm your co-host, Mike Thomas.
And Mike, I'm really excited to talk about the issue we have today.
We have a big issue.
We do. So the title of today's episode is The IP Wars.
IP Wars, IP Wars. Dun, dun.
IP is in intellectual property. So where I was going with that is like how, think of, there was the soda wars, and then there was the console wars, would have been more like in our lifetime, I guess. But basically this like, some kind of big field is emerging and these big companies and players start figuring out what their footholds in that field are going to be. And then, next thing you know, we have what Sony makes PlayStations and Microsoft making Xbox. And, you have your Nintendo, and that's basically it, right? Like, competition has room for 3, usually. Maybe just 2 sometimes, but 3. Mm-hmm. And we, for all intents and purposes, seem to be heading that direction with streaming services, which are easily going to be the future. How much longer cable companies can even stay afloat is in question, I would say. So yeah, what was your first thought when I kind of lobbed the idea of doing this topic your way?
So my first thought popped in my head was what cable companies were doing with getting different TV packages. So
sure, but they don't. It's not like Fox. Well,
no, like AT&T, DirecTV,
yes,
Dish, Charter, because it kind of stems from that aspect. Like you're going to only get certain channels with DirecTV. You're only going to get like the NFL Network has a contract with DirecTV.
Right.
You're going to get the NFL Network with that. It's going to be cheap.
Yeah,
cheaper if you do it. You can get the NFL Network outside of that, but it's going to be hella expensive. You're going to be able to get like A&E,
I'm pretty
USA.
sure that's included in our. We do Hulu Live personally,
yeah,
and I think that's just there is no like playing around
with
no mixing package stuff.
And I think that's where the IP wars is coming from.
Agreed.
It's like, hey, I'm going to cut out this big corporation, and I'm going to give you exactly what you want based on your statistics of what you watch. So like you and I,
what they want.
So you and I like watching football, but we also like watching superhero stuff.
Yep.
We also like watching dramas and actions. So I'm going to give you ESPN. I'm going to give you Netflix, or I'll give you like a bundle like FX Now. FX Now, you can download an app if you have a cable subscriber,
right? And
you can watch all the FX Now movies that they have on there, which they have a ton.
Yeah.
Which they have a lot of Marvel movies as well.
Okay, that makes sense.
And there are a lot of older Marvel movies, of course, too. And right now, HBO is showing like the old Fantastic Four movies. They're showing the old X-Men movies.
Who is?
HBO.
Okay.
Everything comes in waves when it comes to...
That's interesting. I guess they're just like... I guess you just buy it for a while for distribution rights, because HBO is owned by Time Warner, which of course is owned by AT&T now. Okay, I feel like we're going to just kind of...
Yeah.
This is going to branch in all different places. So just like always, before we jump into the main meat of our podcast, here is a quick message from our Patreon. All of Grassroots Comics is funded through our Patreon, patreon.com/grassrootscomics. For as little as $1 a month, you can become part of the Grassroots Comics community, which includes many perks, such as having your name mentioned in this segment of every episode of the podcast, the ability to suggest topics of discussion for shows like These Guys Have Issues, access to the private Grassroots Comics subreddit where members can continue discussions started on the podcast or start their own, behind-the-scenes access to the GRC studio, and early access to digitally released comics and Classic Cartoon Rewind. So it is the goal of all of us here at Grassroots Comics Productions that one day the Patreon is strong enough where we are able to produce the stories, artwork, and stop-motion animation shorts pitched and selected by the grassroots comics community. But the only way that becomes possible is with a strong Patreon. So if you feel that the entertainment value you receive from this podcast is at least worth 25 cents, then please become a Patreon contributor today, and with our powers combined, we can have all of our stories heard. All right, now let's get on with the rest of the show. And we're back. Okay, so yeah, I think you're heading in the right direction there, that it is streaming services that are eventually going to siphon off some of this IP, and we've kind of already seen that happening. The first real casualty of the IP wars, I think, was the Marvel Netflix shows. That was a big sign to the future that we're not gonna mix anything here. I know these shows have made a home on Netflix and have been well received, and I'm sure the ratings and stuff with them are fine, even though Netflix never releases anything like that, and there is no Nielsen ratings for the for streaming services, which to me is an issue going forward. How do you know? You know what I mean when I say Nielsen reporting? Do you know what that is?
I don't know what you mean, but
Nielsen is a company that and they've done this for forever, and I actually was lucky enough to get this questionnaire in the mail once, and it asks you what channels do you watch the most? What's your favorite television program? And it monitors some of what you're actually watching, and the ratings for network cable stuff. That's where all those figures come from, is Nielsen. That doesn't exist for streaming, and Netflix chooses not to release that kind of stuff. So for an example of something that's a completely original property, that Santa Clarita Diet that's been on Netflix, was recently canceled, but there's no numbers as far as how many people streamed it to the ratio of how many people actually have Netflix accounts. That would make sense to me as far as how you would think of how successful something is. Because my wife's a big fan of that show, and if you've watched it, it's super cheap. It's got to be cheap to make, right? The most expensive thing has got to be Drew Barrymore's salary.
Of course.
But other than that, it's in cookie cutter homes in California, which if you're shooting in Hollywood, those are a dime a dozen. Porn can shoot in these places.
I feel it goes off upon and they'll probably never come out and say with this, but how much you talk about it on social media, plus your ranking system.
That's a very fair assessment.
Plus your ranking system within the app itself. You can give something 5 stars all day long.
True.
But if there's a point where it kind of just grinds out on everything,
right.
Bird Box, let's say Bird Box was a Netflix movie.
Yeah.
And it did not it came out on Netflix, nobody really watched it, and all of a sudden everybody needs to watch Bird Box.
Yeah, everyone was talking about social media.
Exactly.
Right.
And so
it became a meme.
And it just took off on its own life. And Netflix doesn't really care, if you're not giving your stuff 4 or 5 stars ratings, I think that's when they start paying attention to people. But if you're going to just put
that's interesting. That makes me want to rate the stuff I actually watch more.
If you're going to
watch and enjoy more.
All this content at one time that someone can just go to at any point in time. Sometimes Netflix doesn't even announce this new stuff that's coming.
They just drop it,
and you're holy shit, this is amazing.
I will say this: I think there's positives and negatives for the just drop the whole season model.
Definitely.
People like that and they can binge it, but I will say from a business standpoint, if I only buy Netflix for Stranger Things, then I'm going to wait till Stranger Things is dropped. I'm going to buy Netflix for a month, and I'm going to unsubscribe after I've binged all those episodes. On the other hand, if you're like Disney Plus with that Mandalorian show that's going to be available on launch day 1, that is releasing 1 episode a week, right? So think of how massive of a pulp culture conversation Game of Thrones is right now.
Yeah.
That wouldn't exist if HBO was here's all 6 episodes.
But I still think that is a thing of the past.
The week to week?
Yeah.
I disagree.
I feel that.
And
well, go first with your point.
Okay.
Yes.
From a company standpoint, which this is the people that pay for this stuff. So to me that it behooves oneself to put yourself in their shoes first, right?
Yeah,
rather
definitely.
than the consumer. If you're a massive company like Disney and you have TV stuff and movie stuff going on, you can do something like what they're doing with The Mandalorian, in that it comes out a certain number of weeks before Star Wars Episode 9 comes out. And, like, once The Mandalorian ends, the very next week, Episode 9 premieres in theaters. So, literally, for, like, 2 months or so, it's going to be Star Wars is going to be driving the pulp culture conversation. You know, if you want to take a 90s reference here, the talk around the water cooler.
Yeah.
So I think that's a really effective model. One, to put butts in movie theater seats. And then two, like you were saying, to keep your mentions up on social media and your hashtags and everything. Because just look at Game of Thrones. Like, we usually watch Game of Thrones maybe 30 minutes or so after it's actually like, so if it starts at 8 o'clock here, we may like start ours at 8:30, right?
Yeah.
But you can't social media at all during that because something's going to get spoiled, right? So I think it's going to come the same, like, I don't know, it's just, it's in our pop culture DNA now to talk about things weekly like that.
But I also think, like, we're such a here and now that Netflix has done such a good job of giving us everything that we wanted right then.
Right.
So that, hey, I've got a weekend, I'm going to watch Stranger Things in a whole weekend.
Yeah.
And then on Monday, I can talk about, hey, man, did you watch Stranger Things this weekend?
Right, but then your, like, friend might not have, and you can't, like, you're kind of an asshole if you talk about something on social media.
But I feel like that people respect that more now, because with Endgame coming out,
I think people collectively decided they were going to do that for Endgame and Game of Thrones, and that is a...
But I still feel like with Stranger Things and other shows, they still do the same. Like, when Bird Box came out, like, I just saw all the chatter on Twitter and Facebook about what it was like. It's just a horror movie that y'all need to check out. And so no one gave me any details about what the movie was, and I just decided to watch it. And I was like, oh, okay, this is like The Happening and whatnot. So to me, like, dropping a whole season is great because that gives me the opportunity where I don't have to wait. I can watch it in my own time.
No, as a consumer, it's awesome. As the distributor, it's not.
But it's not hurt Netflix.
We will see. Time will tell that story.
But as right now, it's not hurting Netflix.
No, that's true.
And you don't have any other streaming service right now that's going
it's doing something
par
like
with
that.
it.
No,
I mean, Hulu's doing a great job. Amazon Prime is giving us a great, great platforms. But the Disney Plus, the DC Universe app,
right?
Can be something if it wants to be great, but they're only appealing to a certain amount of people at that point. Like with Disney, yes, everybody loves Disney. You have different aspects of Disney now that you can pitch people to. You can pitch people to the Marvel world.
Totally.
You can pitch people to the Star Wars world and to the original Disney world.
Heck, now with them even owning Fox, you can be like, here's all this adult animation. Here, you want to watch fucking 20 seasons of The Simpsons? It's all right there.
It's right there.
You want to watch Alien? It's all right there.
But I feel that
X-Files?
with their version of their app, everything's not going to be included. Like, why would I include...
In Disney's?
Yes, because if I'm incorporating stuff from different companies, my name is going to be on everything.
Yes.
So I want my stuff to be first.
You mean as in the Fox properties?
Yes.
So it's going to be on Disney Plus.
But I'm saying, like, I get Disney Plus. You want to have Fox properties, you tack on another $1.99 a month.
Oh, now, yeah, I could...
It's almost like what your cable is now. You've got a standard, a gold, and a platinum, or whatnot.
They're not going to do that, though.
You don't think so?
No. For one thing, and here's the biggest sign that Disney is coming for Netflix is their price point for Disney Plus. And all this shit that's going to be on their launch day is insane. Like everything I just mentioned, Fox properties, is going to be on day one launch.
But who's going to go back and actually watch The Simpsons? I'm sorry.
Dude, a ton of people will do that.
But I'm saying, like, Netflix offers you so much more things, like in a broad spectrum. Like all of Disney stuff is a niche consumer.
I would disagree. But with the purchase of Fox, that solidified that Disney Plus is going to be this gigantic force in the streaming world. I agreed that if they hadn't purchased Fox and it was, your Disney regular stuff, your Star Wars, and your Marvel stuff, that's a good chunk of things. But when you add, Fox is massive. Like, it's crazy to think about all the things that Fox actually owns and has a foot into. Like, funny enough, I'm pretty sure that Disney will now have the distribution rights to the Batman 66 show
Huh.
because that is a Fox-owned
Yeah.
property. So just there's going to be something on there for everybody. Like it's not going to be a just get the Disney app for your kids.
Yeah, but I feel like that even if they try to push that price point of like we've got something for everybody, Netflix is still the gold standard. Netflix
Agreed.
changed everything.
But Netflix keeps raising their prices, and Disney's price tag is like $6.99 a month.
Yeah, but come on now, look.
Let's say you're a family that can only afford internet and one streaming service a month.
You're
a
in-
family.
Yeah.
So let's say 4 people in the household, 2 parents and 2 kids. Which one are you going to buy?
Probably Netflix because Netflix has more of a family material.
Then Disney?
Yes, because I don't want to be able to
Huey,
just,
can we get a tiebreaker on this?
because I feel that me casually going to Netflix, I've got my kids area, I've got my drama, I've got my comedy and humor.
Name an area you just mentioned that's not available on Disney.
I know, but what am I going to watch that's on the Disney app? That
If you're an adult,
yes, what am I going to watch?
you're going to watch your Marvels, your Star
Okay,
Wars, and
okay.
any Fox-owned property.
Okay, so you're telling me that I can go on there and I can watch Airplane?
I don't know.
Probably not.
I doubt it, but I mean, who's buying a service for Airplane?
I know that's not what I'm saying. Netflix is one of those things that offers a broad spectrum.
I'll agree with that. That
He's
like
saying-
they are not
yeah,
beholden
basically he's saying,
to.
like you're not. Disney is what you would get for your kids.
Mhm.
Like you're
And
saying
then
it's
there's
more
some
family
stuff.
oriented.
No, I'm saying there's something for everybody there.
There
in
is.
that,
There is,
especially after the purchase of Fox, like that's
There
a
is,
huge
but-
game changer for Disney.
If there's something that's there for everybody, and there's something that's there for everybody with Netflix, I'm more inclined to get Netflix because they have more content for everyone, from
He's
top
talking-
to bottom.
He's talking about like if you're an anime fan, there's anime there. If you're a really big horror, there's horror. He's talking about genres.
Yeah,
Okay,
Disney-
He's not gonna give
maybe
a lot
those
of
genres,
genres.
sure.
Yeah.
Those
I'm
genres
Just saying
weren't
more
mentioned before.
family
Yeah.
oriented,
But-
and you like as adults watching movies with their kids, yeah, we can watch.
Well, I
Marvel
think just
movies.
any family to me that can, if you can only afford internet and one streaming service a month,
I still think it's Netflix.
I think if you've got kids,
It's still
that
Netflix.
it's- okay. Well, I guess we'll find out what happens, especially since Disney is $6.99 and Netflix is what now, 12 something.
We use Hulu a lot in our house because my
Right.
daughter loves to watch Uncle Grandpa and Adventures.
But with Hulu, you get it for free if you get Spotify.
Yes.
If you pay for Spotify Premium, you get it
Here's
Hulu
the
free.
kicker.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yes.
What?
Yeah,
Yes.
so get Spotify and
Yes.
then get Hulu.
I
for
also
free.
think it should work the other way. That if you pay for Hulu,
You should get
fucking
Spotify.
Spotify
Yeah,
Premium.
just same with
But
like
Hulu has Hulu Live, which is just
That's why we have it. I'm a big sports guy.
it's ahead of its game.
Yes, the only thing comparable to it is YouTube. YouTube has a YouTube Live, but they don't have the same like backlog that Hulu does.
Yeah.
Hulu is
Yeah.
just bigger, and the reason Hulu is bigger is because Disney has a stake in Hulu, and AT&T have a stake in Hulu. So if you really want,
That is
Hulu
true.
is the battleground, is like the front line for the IP wars.
But you don't really think about Hulu really because a lot of people just go straight for Netflix when they think about streaming networks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, it's become the Kleenex to tissues. You know what
It's
I
like
mean?
the golden standard.
You know what I mean when I say that?
well, yeah, I
Like,
mean,
okay.
well, you got to think about what Netflix history was based upon.
Yeah.
it was we were going to beat out Blockbuster,
Right.
Yes.
and so at the point you could pay for getting DVDs and VHS
Right,
at
in
the
the
time
mail and-
before you could even download stuff.
Yes,
and
before
then
they went full streaming.
you could do the streaming and that, and
Right.
then now it's full streaming, and you have pretty much wiped out a conglomerate on someone who had that niche market. Like Blockbuster was huge before Netflix came around.
Oh yeah, why go to a store when they can ship it to me? And,
Even Redbox.
Mm-hmm.
Redbox is super, super cheap. I can't tell you how many times in college that I did Redbox until one of my roommates got Netflix. And then after we got
Yeah.
Netflix, there's no reason to go to Redbox anymore.
well,
unless
new
you wanted
release
it
stuff.
in
Yeah,
the here
you
and
need
now.
it now, exactly.
And
But I'll say even Redbox has remedied that with their on-demand app.
Yeah.
is awesome.
Yeah.
you know you can get it for the same price you get it at the actual box. It's
But
just on your
even
TV.
with buying cable with like Showtime and Cinemax and
Which
HBO,
Hulu does as add-ons.
yes. But I'm saying, do you have to pay more for add-ons?
That's $10 more.
Yeah,
well,
so-
depending on the service, but that's premium cable.
I could do
different
pay-per-view
than-
and watch. So when A Star Was Born Star Wars Born was still in theaters, and I could still watch it on my TV. I just had to pay for it a little bit.
Sure. Okay.
So, and one of the things that you failed to mention about IP War stuff earlier was about sports programs.
Yes.
DAZN is the one that is leading boxing right now.
What was that?
DAZN, DAZN. It's this app that just came out within this past year, and it has got Canelo Alvarez on it. And right now, Canelo Alvarez is pretty much the face of boxing. And people cannot watch his fights unless they have the DAZN app. So we're not talking about like UFC.
Did he sign like an exclusive contract?
Yes,
or something
he did.
With them?
And
That's interesting.
you have to buy this app to watch it.
Same way, I guess, like college football playoffs and stuff. Or there's so much TV rights and stuff bought up in that. And of course, Disney owns ESPN,
Exactly.
so they're probably leading
ABC.
the right.
Yeah. But I'm saying,
So let's say eventually cable companies are done, like traditional cable companies as we know it.
Yeah.
That Disney will probably absorb the sports world with that.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I mean,
they've already got what percentage of the sports broadcasting do you think ESPN is by itself?
I'd
Just a
probably say
ballpark.
97%.
I would agree.
Yeah.
It's above 70.
But in these past couple of years, you've had people step up. Like Fox has stepped up their
Yeah.
game. CBS has stepped up their
For
game.
certain areas, they still
Yeah.
like kind of don't give a shit about college football.
No,
and they
but
highly produce NFL
No,
stuff more.
which is going to bring you more money in the country.
Probably, yeah, I guess so.
So if they have a streaming app for NFL, it's not
Mm-hmm.
affiliated with a cable company, then yes, that would be something
Right.
to get into, especially now with sports betting, and people would want to have, like, say that FanDuel could stream NFL games. Well, you could get live betting
That's
while you're
true.
watching the game
Right.
at home. I mean, you're
That's-
talking about a whole different world,
That
not
is,
just
and
only
that's a
for
great thought. I feel like eventually that would get bought by one of these larger companies that we're talking about
yeah,
here, right?
Or they're going to
'Cause,
see the money making aspect of it.
Sure. Okay, let's reel it back in a little to where we.
sorry.
No, you're good. No, that's exactly what we're. The general topic of this is not as it applies to comic books,
Yeah.
but that's the lens we're looking through it, I guess. So how this kind of popped up on my radar a lot was Swamp Thing.
Yeah.
So the Swamp Thing show is going to be on the DC Universe app, and it was originally slated for 13 episodes. Once AT&T bought Time Warner, it's unclear through articles and whatnot if it's just cold feet by AT&T's part, that they saw some of the show and wasn't really into it, so they wanted to kind of cut it off at the knees some. Or, and to me this is way more likely, that AT&T eventually wants to do their own kind of app, their own streaming thing. So why would we siphon off all the DC stuff to this one, where we just absorb it into one big thing later? Think of the future AT&T app as a Disney Plus, and the current DC Universe app as Netflix. Why have our stuff in two different places where we own all of it? So if you want stuff that we own, you come to us. Why does Disney want to give Netflix some of off the top from one of their Netflix shows when they could just put it all on the Disney app and keep everything? It's the same aspect in that, and I didn't know this until further research. Netflix has a producing foothold into Doom Patrol. Which, as much as I love that show, that spells trouble for the future of that show, in that AT&T is not going to want to give some off the top to Netflix. It's like if you live outside of the U.S., the only way for you to watch Doom Patrol, since the DC Universe app isn't available outside of the U.S., is on Netflix. So, bringing this back to Swamp Thing, after the purchase of Time Warner from AT&T, by AT&T, they took the 13 season episodes and cut it down to 10, and the writers now have to rework an ending into the 10th episode. And it's kind of unclear on whether there's going to be a second season.
Yeah.
At first, that made me think this show is dead before it even gets off the ground.
Yeah.
But the same thing kind of happened with the Titan show, in that they what was originally going to be the season finale of season 1 for the Titans, they rewrote to be the season premiere for season 2 for Titans.
Yeah.
So potentially there's something like that going on here. And I will say, too, that I prefer my streaming shows like this to be about 10 episodes. The Disney, the Marvel Netflix shows that were about 13 always seem to have at least 3 filler episodes that didn't seem like it was on point of the main storyline. And with so much content now, like, I appreciate you cutting your stuff down to exactly what it needs to be rather than any more fluff. If I can do 10 hours for something rather than 13 hours, I would highly prefer to do that.
Yeah, and you would probably want to be able to watch that all in a weekend, too.
I don't have that kind of, as a parent of
I know, but
2
I'm
kids.
just saying, like, the majority of
I personally don't have that kind of time to sit down and
the majority
binge
of the
stuff.
country
Sure.
would be able to want to just be able to watch it in a weekend.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah,
So-
binging is a huge, when it comes to entertainment, I guess. Right, is a huge factor now. So my main theory here, as far as the future of the IP wars, as we're calling them, as it relates to comic books, is that in comics now that you basically have, everyone knows what I mean when I say the big 2, right?
Yeah.
Marvel, DC. To me, there's really a big 3, and it's like Marvel, DC, and then like you can kind of lump indie together, and sometimes that rotates on who's the indie king. Like forever it was Dark Horse, now it's Image. I think you're going to see those get those are kind of the measuring stick to me to where the IP wars go. In that, as much as I hate it, I think eventually AT&T is going to shut down the DC app and merge it with whatever big AT&T Comcast app that they're going to make. It's going to have just a fuck ton of programming. It's going to be ridiculous. Like that amount of programming would be on par with Disney Plus. And as far as the amount of IP that they own is maybe the only thing that can actually compete with that.
I don't know. I still feel like Netflix is the conglomerate here that it just overshadows everything at this point.
Netflix is playing a risky game, and that they are spending way more money than any of these other companies we're talking about. On a yearly basis, and this has been for maybe the past 5 years or so, Netflix is spending more money than they are making. But the idea of this is that they're buying any IP that is basically available to keep under their roof, and they won't have to, we were talking before, if you're Marvel, why would you want Netflix to have some off the top of their show?
Yeah.
If you're Netflix, why would you want Marvel to have some off the top of your show? So why don't I go out there and buy everything Mark Miller owns, Miller World, which is what they did, and put that all under one roof? Why don't I go out and buy Umbrella Academy and produce a show straight off of that? To me, Netflix is potentially threatened by, 1, the price point of Disney, and then 2, the amount of content that's going to be on there.
But that's the thing, though. You're telling me the amount of content that's going to be on there. So you're going to get the Marvel movies, you're going to get the DC stuff, you're going to get all their new stuff.
Mm-hmm. Not to mention everything Disney.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like,
It's been for
there's
80 years.
Yeah, there's some people that don't like the old Disney stuff.
Right.
There's some people that enjoy, like I enjoyed Moana and I enjoyed Frozen.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to buy a streaming service just so I can watch those movies.
No, I know.
And I'm not going to buy a streaming service just so I can watch 1 or 2 shows.
People could argue the same thing about the DC app, though.
Yeah, no, I completely understand that. Like, I haven't even bought the DC app.
Right.
And I would like to watch Titans.
Mhm.
And I'd like to be able to go and read some of the comics.
Right.
But I'm just not going to do it when I have Netflix. And I'm not going to do
Sure.
it when I can go to Comixology, that's a tangent of Amazon. Where I
Right.
can go read comics off there. Or every now and then get a motion comic on Netflix, or with DirecTV has their own DC channel where I can just go click on there and watch any of like Justice League War. I could watch Flashpoint, any animated series or movie. I had to click up a button
Yeah.
without even having to buy an app for it or having a different streaming service with that.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, I agree. I just think that again, the price point that Netflix, the premium plan is $15.99 a month. Your most basic is $8.99. So if we're talking $6.99 from the Disney app,
But that's just Disney stuff.
but it's not though. Like you can't just ignore the Star Wars, Marvel,
Yeah, but
and everything Fox.
Yeah, but still though,
Like I think you might be underestimating how much.
I'm not
Fox
underestimating because
owns.
like FX is owned by Fox, and so you have the FXL app. So you're going to completely do with that. You're going to completely do away with all the FX cable because with FX, I mean, FX is doing Marvel films. They're doing the Simpsons program. They're doing Futurama. They're doing a bunch of other stuff out there. And then who owns Sci-Fi?
The Sci-Fi Network.
Yeah,
I'm gonna bet that is
is that Time
Warner. Yeah, I'm gonna bet, but let me just check real quick.
Because Sci-Fi and USA, they're owned by the same company. They're doing all the Harry Potter.
Okay, so here's the other thing. That's NBC. So NBC is owned by Comcast. So AT&T and Comcast are going to merge at some point. That's inevitable. The same way that Disney and Fox merging was inevitable. So any like NBC stuff would now be under the Time Warner AT&T app. Which that's why I'm saying that like as far as just like sheer I mean we're talking massive amounts of IP here with all three of them.
I know,
right?
I know.
It's just that Netflix to me has a different strategy of it right now, and maybe they have to have a different strategy because they're not a company that's been around since, the dawn of television, basically. Where, Disney shows up and they own certain properties, right?
Mm-hmm.
Time Warner shows up and they own certain properties. Netflix has had to like scrape and claw for all of that. So I guess their hope, obviously their hope is that eventually that IP starts coming back to pay for itself along with their original programming. But I think you'll see that like, obviously the DC stuff will be on the AT&T Comcast app. Your Marvel stuff will be on your Disney Plus app. And all of the indie mixed bag stuff, I think, will eventually float to Netflix. So what are your thoughts as far as the main three comic houses being a measuring stick for where the potentially main three streaming services go?
It really just depends on the success of box office, really, to be honest with you. Marvel has done such a great job of doing these past 10 years, 21 movies. Everyone's involved with it. DC is just now getting on board with that. They've hit 3 home runs with Shazam, Wonder Woman, and Aquaman.
Right.
And I think that feeds into what they can do later on. Like with the DC app, we're just now getting off the ground for that. And from what you're telling me, it's about to just get killed.
See, I mean, well, I guess we'll have to see in that. I don't think the DC app will get killed. I think it will eventually be merged into something else.
But that still gets killed for me because all of its stuff is not the same anymore. Like, I can't just go to an app and just do my DC stuff. I have to go through...
Well, hopefully that would be the same...
The Comcast
in
app.
the same way that... can't you go to the Disney Plus app and there's like a Marvel section and you're just in Marvel?
Yeah.
Like if you're on the AT&T Comcast
But I still
app.
have to go click, Disney, click, Marvel, click. No,
Whoa.
you say that.
These are some first world
you
problems.
say that. I know, but I'm saying you say that. Everybody wants everything
as far as
streamlined.
exiting out and going to a completely different app itself. Like
Everybody
we're putting
wants
everything in the
everything
same...
streamlined.
Right. And everything under the same app would be streamlined.
Yeah, so I'm going to go to Disney Plus. I'm going to type in Marvel. I'm typing
Right.
Captain America Winter Soldier. I'm going to click on it.
Okay. Which one is more streamlined? 2 separate apps or everything under the same app?
If I can go to one app that has the thing that I want the most, I want that one app.
Right.
I don't want to have to go into an app that has one thing and then plus 1,000 other things. Like sometimes I get overloaded with Netflix because I'm like, hey, I just want to kind of...
That's inevitable.
I know.
It's going to happen with
I know.
all 3 of these.
Exactly. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing because it
Right.
gives you a lot of content to choose from. When I worked night shift in the emergency room, I had a list of movies that I just wanted to go through. And I did 2012, 2013, 2014. And I went through the years of the movies that I wanted to see in box office that I never saw. And I would just go to pirated sites, watch them
Right.
through that and whatnot. Now Netflix has a ton of those movies that I have on there.
Yeah.
That not necessarily Disney would have, or the Comcast whatever would have. They're not
Right.
even superhero movies. I feel that this is driving, though, like what you were talking about earlier, separating them to the big three, that this is driving the point of the IP wars.
Right.
Marvel took all their stuff off Netflix because they knew they were going to do this app with Disney.
Right. That's the shot heard around the world,
Yeah.
basically, right?
They said,
If
"Hey,
you
buy
want to take it
Netflix."
into like revolutionary
Yeah.
terms here. Yeah, continue.
No, we're done with you. We're going to pull our stuff. We're going to be a conglomerate now.
Right.
Disney's like, bam, what you going to do now, Netflix?
Yeah.
And Netflix
Yeah.
has a bunch of
If
great...
you want to suckle at the Disney teat, you got to come straight to the cow.
Exactly. And Netflix does a great job with a lot of their original programming, the Ozarks,
Right.
Stranger Things.
This is award-winning stuff.
Umbrella Academy, even their movies like Bird Box, like I
Yeah.
mentioned earlier. You have great content. And I feel that Netflix does a good job of getting anime. Now, Disney and the Comcast app, so like Time Warner owns Cartoon Network.
Right.
Cartoon Network has Toonami. Toonami has all these animes that are on Toonami.
Right.
And if we do the animes that are from Toonami throughout the years on
They
that
have
app,
to just have distribution rights by those, though, right? Because those are owned by like Funimation and stuff,
Yeah.
right? Like
And-
Eastern
and
companies.
Funimation has their own app. But they could take a little off the top and say, hey, look, we want to put your stuff on our app. We'll give you a little off the top. And
Sure.
still drive home a good price
And
point.
I think that's the wild card here. And not to show our hand too much, but later on in the next coming months, I think we have one show scheduled at the end of this month. We're doing another series called Untapped Corners of Comics for Cinema, right? And that's basically like anime is going to be, spoiler,
Yeah.
is going to be one of those.
Yeah.
Manga, really. So yeah, I'll agree that there's these other, wild card factors out there. And really, to me, the place to watch is to see what happens to Hulu in the next few years. With that being where Disney has a foothold, AT&T has a foothold. Who does that company just get broken up, and then the different aspects of it get assigned to different streaming apps? To me, that's probably most likely. Which again, as a Hulu customer, that's unfortunate because I love our Hulu Live.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean,
I feel like cable brought upon this because a couple of years ago, they were like, hey, you're going to only be able to get this certain stuff with us. You're not going to be able to get all this. And like even now, there's a new show that Stephanie and I started watching. It's on, I believe it's on A&E, but it's called Live PD. And it's where they go out to different police departments around the nation and they are filming body cams.
Yeah.
It's like a modern day version of Cops.
Right.
Except it's live. Well, they're automatically saying, hey, if you have DirecTV, you could lose Live PD.
Yeah.
Call this number, blah, blah, blah.
so y'all have cable?
Yeah.
Okay.
We have DirecTV. We have satellite.
Okay.
So, and the reason why we have satellite is because I'm a Patriots fan, and I need to watch
Right.
my Patriots football.
Gotcha.
And in Alabama, you can't do that unless you have satellite.
Or Hulu Live? Or
No, you can't watch it on Hulu Live because Hulu
Really?
Live does not have a contract with the NFL.
I get NFL Network. I'm pretty sure.
You don't get NFL Network. I guarantee you that.
I watch NFL games on Hulu.
Yeah, but
Live
you
all
don't
the
get
time.
NFL Network. You may get their CBS or Fox game, but you do not get NFL Live. I guarantee you cannot watch every single Patriots game.
Probably not. I'm definitely not looking for
Yeah,
the Patriots.
or just even like any Miami
But,
Dolphins
yeah.
game. Yeah, whatever team you are. That's the only reason why I get it. And we got Dish because it's the only thing that could be out in our area.
Right.
And that's what's going to have to change about. I'm going to have to get
sure.
with whatever internet I'm going to get.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to get specifically tailored towards me. So if I get Comcast and they have this app that's offered with my internet,
Yep.
why not get it?
There it is.
So
What's available in your area, and a lot of time there's only one of those companies available in a certain area. They'll push out other companies.
you know how it was down in Auburn.
Yeah.
You only had one major affiliate down
Right.
there, and just the same thing in Tuscaloosa. You had Comcast. Everyone hated Comcast. You couldn't do anything about
what
it
are you gonna do? Yeah.
unless you got Dish or satellite.
Cut the cable and just pay for Netflix. Right.
But even then, you're paying for shoddy
yeah.
internet.
Well, no, not shoddy. Well, I mean, just depending on how Comcast services, I guess. Sure.
So,
Yeah.
but that gets into a whole bunch of stuff that it kind of ties in with it. But when you're looking at like where the money is funneling through, like I understand what you're saying with Disney. Disney is this multi-billion-dollar company. They could put anything out, and
They
it
have
would,
the license to print money.
Exactly.
Like the odds-on favorite here is Disney.
Yeah,
like
I could-
Netflix should be scared because Disney is clearly coming after them.
And
We can agree that maybe not everyone will do what I said. If you're a family that can afford, internet and one streaming service a month, and your choice is between those two, but a lot of people will go that route. Will
Yeah.
go to Disney.
no, and if you're looking at, not even families at this point, because how many people do you know that enjoy Disney like more than
A lot of
anything else?
people.
Exactly.
Yeah.
How many people?
It's
Like,
just people that save their entire lives and go to Disney World. And
yes, and then how many people have loved Star Wars their entire life? How many new generations of people have
Disney owns your childhood. Let's just be honest about that.
Not my childhood.
Okay, Disney and Time Warner own your childhood.
I wouldn't even necessarily say Time Warner owns
Yeah.
my childhood, because I grew up
Does
watching.
Disney own Star Trek now?
Ooh, that's a good question.
I think they.
I don't think so. You can look it up. Look
Okay.
it up right now, because that'd be
Oh,
huge.
Huey's on it.
Okay.
Appreciate it, Huey.
But I was a little different. I watched Beetleborgs. I watched Power Rangers.
Right.
I was not into the Disney aspect of everything.
Sure, but we can agree that is
No.
the outlier.
Yeah,
rather
that's the
than
majority.
yeah.
That's the majority. And they have enough money to undercut anybody. And as much as I love Netflix, and
Mm-hmm.
as much as Netflix has been the gold standard, a lot of times the gold standard has to go away.
It is interesting that they got on this scene by destroying Blockbuster, right? Who was the gold standard for their industry. If Netflix doesn't rapidly evolve soon, okay, so Viacom. So that's like CBS and stuff, right?
I think so.
I wonder if Viacom eventually is Viacom owned by anybody? Like, to me, that would eventually lead to Comcast, is what it's
Does
sounding
Paramount-
like to me,
does
or
Paramount
NBC.
own Viacom?
Paramount.
I just remember at the very end of Matlock, the Viacom symbol coming around.
Not Matlock. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, dude.
Did that come on right after the heat of the night?
It sure did. It was at 8:30 and 8.
Ooh,
and
I totally got off what I was talking about.
No, but I do see, it's just one of those things where if Disney could, it's almost like we have monopoly in entertainment right now when we can't have monopoly in businesses. Like, Disney has taken over so much stuff. At this point, Disney should just be like, you know what? We're just going to buy out CBS. We're going to buy out NBC.
Yeah.
And we're going to buy out this and this and this. And there's not really, SEC regulations on how they do business when it comes to these kind of deals.
Yeah, America has gotten a lot more lax in that lately.
But if it's a raw material, you can't have a monopoly on it.
Right.
This is a digital
but
aspect.
IP.
Yeah, it's a digital aspect world. We're changing our philosophy of what we think is a natural resource, pretty much.
No, that's true. And that falls along in the same lines of you'll hear some politicians talk about regulating social media stuff like utilities,
Well, I mean, even with the Zuckerberg stuff,
Right.
that should have never, ever happened in Congress. But
No.
it did, and it was a mockery. So you're going to have people that are on the Disney Plus app creative side coming to Congress and talking about how they do their business, when literally they have no clue how they can't even grasp what digital media really is.
Oh, Congress?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're
So-
explaining to a bunch of 80-year-old white men.
What are you talking about? This pixel and this.
There was one instance like that. It was Facebook exec explains to Congress how the internet works. I remember seeing that for something. But yeah, I think that if Netflix is not careful, they will
Dissolve.
They will be the ones that are easiest to push out this, and that they don't have that decades upon decades foothold into this cherished IP
But
that
well,
like we said, that Disney owns your childhood.
Yeah. What about this Amazon Prime? Where does Amazon Prime Video
Now that's
go?
a good question. I just
feel like
don't
they're
think
ambiguous to everything right now.
They are, but I don't know if they have put forth as much investment into that area as these other companies. Because for a while, Amazon Prime Video was I saw some meme for it that was Netflix, and it was these very nicely organized alphabetical DVD cases, right? and then it was Amazon Prime, and it was those bins in Walmart that have like they're just
The
full of
$5
DVDs. Which
movie
that's the way it
bins.
was. There was no like search thing for a
Yeah,
while. There was like
no.
categories,
Yeah.
and even when you're going through Amazon Prime, it still brings up shit that you have to pay for.
Mm-hmm.
That pisses me off to no end. Where I'm like, oh yeah, I really want to watch this. $14.99 to buy it. It's like, well, fuck
Exactly.
you. Why am I even seeing
Yeah.
it?
Do you have Amazon Prime Video?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, that's the thing, man. We have Hulu Live, Netflix, DC Universe, Amazon Prime, and it's still not our cable bill.
How much was your cable bill?
Like 180 something.
How much is all that combined?
Under 100 still.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we pay 40 for internet every month, so not bad. But I mean, yeah, I just think this is the shock. What sucks is that this is going to affect creatively the stuff that we all
definitely.
like. Which again, we're already seeing that with the Netflix Marvel shows getting taken off and whatever's happening, the Swamp Thing. Which again, it could be AT&T hedging their bets some, like if Swamp Thing is massively popular or something and gets people to sign up for the DC app, then maybe it'll stay. And I'm pretty sure they're doing the weekly release thing, just like how Titans and Doom Patrol has done as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else to add to that?
I mean, I think we touched on a lot of great points, and it really gets people to think about, because this is some kind of an uncharted territory right now,
Right.
And I feel like that when you pitched this idea, we were like way ahead of the curve. Like I haven't really heard anybody else talk about
exactly.
this. So the fact that we're getting on the forefront of it now, we can be, oh, y'all laughed at me, y'all laughed at me, like
Right.
2 or 3 years down the road when Netflix is gone,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it'd be crazy to see, because you know how high their stock is right now, and then for Disney Plus to just come like just cut it down, and then all of a sudden it goes from 400 to 300
dude, I would be
to
nervous if
200
I was Netflix.
to
Just
$35 to selling it at $7 a
Right.
share.
I would be nervous. It's a big gamble to hope that all this IP that you're buying up as Netflix that doesn't have the built-in base, as we can't sit here and pretend that like Lucasfilm is on par with Miller World.
No.
So you hope that whatever content you put out from that is like of high quality, like Umbrella Academy, that it brings people to it even though they don't know what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll agree that a rogue out there is Amazon, because it's not like they don't have the money for it.
No, they have. I mean, they are what, the third biggest company
He's
in the
the
world.
richest man in the world, isn't he?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
Jeff Bezos or
Mhm.
whatever. Yeah. Now they are trying to be a big player when it comes to digital comics as well, because
Yeah.
Amazon owns
Well, they have
Comixology.
Yeah, I mean, I have that on my phone. Like,
Right.
I'm not a big proponent of looking at comics online and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But if I have the access to be like, oh, I only pay $5 a month and I can just read any of these old comics from the '90s. I mean, yeah, I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
Just like with the DC streaming app.
I was just
you
about to
have
say that. That's the cherry on top of all the other like just television and movie programs.
But that's
on
catered
there.
towards people who like the comics.
Agreed.
Like the DC streaming app, to me, if I had a kid, would just be kind of for watching the shows.
Now here's a question that I haven't seen this answered anywhere, but I haven't seen it like put forth as a question to anyone at Disney who would know. With the Disney Plus app, is there going to be some feature like Marvel Unlimited, or are you going to keep those separate?
I got you.
Now, if you own all this stuff and you're give the people what they want, right? The consumer aspect would be to put that all under one roof, and that I can just go into the Disney app, and my kid can watch Lion King, and I can be sitting there reading a comic or something, and my wife can watch X-Files, what have you. To me, that sounds like
It's almost-
especially at that price point, man. That $6.99 is that is seismic.
You're getting to the point now where, and this goes back a couple of years ago when Dish and DirecTV came out with what's called the Genie. And it's where like I could be watching something in my room while I have the app pulled up on my phone and watching another, and then I could be recording a show in another room,
Right.
while my son could be upstairs watching something else.
Yeah.
like all differently on devices, but you're not clogging up anything else.
Yeah.
And with Netflix, you can only have 3 people on at one time.
Same for
If
Hulu.
if you're using that
You
account.
can obviously buy the unlimited devices thing
Yeah,
too.
of course
you can
you
upgrade
could.
that.
You can upgrade.
Which I guess that's the part of the premium Netflix thing that we were seeing is at like $16 a month.
Yeah, but I mean, the majority of people in the United States, like, I've given out my my CBS Sports login.
Yeah.
Because it comes with my package. I
Right.
can give it out and be like, hey, like my friend text messaged me during the NCAA tournament. Hey man, like I really need to stream this. Do you have this? And I said, oh yeah, sure,
Yeah.
take this. And so he watched all the NCAA basketball that you can
Right.
watch on his device. And I feel like that at some point you're going to have to do that with these.
People will do that. People will pay for the premium thing and they'll split it amongst themselves.
Yeah.
And, Venmo the, whatever it is.
We share
divvied up.
We share Netflix with either my in-laws
Right.
or with with just my in-laws. We
Yeah.
share it with my in-laws. And then
We did that with a friend of mine in New Orleans with Hulu for forever.
And my wife has Spotify. We could share Hulu with anybody we wanted to,
Right.
if they asked. And then I have Amazon Prime.
See, I wonder how that works with Hulu Live, because I'm sure you don't just get Hulu Live with Spotify, but is it like at a discount or something like that?
I'm not sure
If
because
you know what I mean. That's something because I have Spotify, but I don't pay for premium, so I still hear those
I think it's
advertisements
just
for it.
with Spotify Premium you get the
Right,
Hulu
you get
stuff.
Hulu, but then would I get instead of it being $40 a month for me, would it be $20? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Right, since I'm already paying for Spotify or something
Yeah.
like that. But that's, I guess not really either here or there. Now, that's another way to look at it is who owns Spotify and does music and stuff get swept up in all this as well?
Like the iHeartRadio app has got a conglomerate on a lot of radio stations, but you still have the TuneIn radio app.
Yep.
You still have other radio apps out there that don't necessarily get these certain...
I use TuneIn.
Yeah, like Cumulus. A lot of Cumulus is on iHeartRadio, but you also have some subsidiaries of Cumulus that's on the TuneIn app that's not necessarily on iHeartRadio.
Right.
Not these bigger stations like Jacksonville's campus station. I got the TuneIn app just so I could listen to my friend when he did his campus sports talk show.
Sure.
On there, and that's not going to be on iHeartRadio.
No, those are
So,
free.
yeah.
So I guess what would be your main areas to watch for? Like the main battlefields of the IP wars going forward as a nice way to kind of wrap things up. We've said Hulu. We watch whatever happens with ownership of Hulu because eventually someone is going to try to buy the other person out. One way or the other. AT&T tried to buy out. Heck, maybe that's how AT&T starts their app. Hulu already has this massive infrastructure and stuff for it. Why pay someone to build your own when you
Just
can
take it.
buy Disney out and rename it the AT&T, Comcast, whatever the fuck. So Hulu is something to watch. I think you may be right as far as Netflix stock might be the only accurate place to really watch how because this process of them spending more money than they are making has been that way for a few years now, and
Probably
that's
about
obviously
4.
that's obviously not sustainable. So when does all this investment start reaping benefits? And then what did you hear from people when the screenshots from Disney Plus was first shown?
It was a lot of expletives and
Right.
holy, just
There's one statement I heard almost across the board. I have to have this. Not, oh, I'd really like to get that. Not, I'm going to wait and see how The Mandalorian is reviewed and maybe I'll get it based on their original content. Just, I have to have this in the same way that water.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just to touch base real quick on Netflix's stock. So in the past, let's just go 3 months. It has constantly gone up and down from anywhere between, $3.50 a share to, $3.75. And then let's see, today it closed
Might be
at...
too micro of a sample, because we're talking.
I want to give you that first, and then I want to give
okay.
you. And today it closed at 378. over a 5-year period, which is blows my mind when I think about Netflix sometimes. And over a 5-year period, this is August 29th, September 26th of 2014. It started out at $68 a share.
Wow.
And it closed at $378 today.
Jeez, I know what I would do if I had some PIM particles.
But that's the crazy thing. They have been constantly in the red almost every day for the past 3 years.
Yep.
When they close, they are in the red.
Right.
So
It's interesting.
it is interesting because I feel like that with Amazon, their stock doesn't necessarily drive what their digital content is.
No.
But with Netflix,
That's
it is.
just that's a side hustle.
Yeah, it really is.
For
it really
Amazon.
is. You're like, hey, you know what? We could give digital content.
We kind of do this. Yeah, we have Man in the High Castle, and like we might do a Tick series.
We got Jack Ryan, Shadow Recruit.
Oh yeah.
There's actually another one out. It's got Julia. What's her name in it? Julia Roberts.
Yeah.
It's that like sci-fi
I know
brain
what you're
twister.
talking about. I don't know the name for it. Now, okay, so we've identified some battlegrounds here. Hulu for sure. Whatever happens with DC and like AT&T and Comcast as a company, I think is telling of what is going to go on with the Warner Brothers stuff or Time Warner.
Yeah.
And then how many people sign up for Disney day one?
Which you'll probably have.
It's going to be huge.
You may crash the servers at that point.
True, if anybody can afford it, though,
It could be Disney.
it's Disney.
Yeah. It kind of blows my mind at how like other companies like Apple and Microsoft have not done anything yet.
Apple has been talking about getting into the TV game and stuff for a while.
But with iTunes, you can buy and digitally download anything pretty much on their website. With Microsoft, you can do it through the Xbox. You can do it through Microsoft.
Right, and I guess these
Store.
other companies will be fine of just being like distribution companies.
Yeah, like Sony does a good job with their PlayStation Network.
Yes.
You can watch movies, you can watch TV shows and whatnot.
Now I know where I was going with that. You were talking about box office earlier.
You have to get box office contracts.
Yes. Is there a future where Disney is like, it kind of costs us a lot of money to like put these movies in theaters and stuff sometimes.
That's where it gets
What
scary.
if we just pipe these directly to people's houses and you want to watch Disney Star Wars stuff, you got to have the Disney app and it's going to premiere on a certain day and you can watch it whenever you want to in the comfort of your own home.
But I feel like the theater is something of like the theater is based around an escape from reality. If you're going
Said the old man.
If you're going to watch something at home, you're not escaping from reality. Because there's so much distraction that goes on at home when it comes to watching something that's new and tailored. Like, I will not have the same feel of watching a new Star Wars movie at home
I 100% agree with you.
than I would in a theater.
And I don't think it matters.
I think it does, though.
Our generation is the last one that is going to matter too.
Unless
you go up and ask my 8-year-old, like, if we could watch Avengers Endgame on the TV here or go to the movie theater and watch it, which one would you rather do? And I bet you he would say, let's watch it on the screen at home.
I don't know, man.
Because they live in a world where my 2-year-old knows how to work a tablet. He literally showed me something on my iPhone the other day that I didn't know I could do.
But but if we're that last generation of going to the movies, we're going to take our kids. That last generation is going to be passed on.
Right.
I mean, the only reason why I'm a movie fan right now is because my dad.
Yeah.
Like, my dad brought me to the movies. I saw movies out the ass when I was in high school.
I completely agree with you that going to the movie is like it's an event type deal, right? And that's honestly why I don't go see like comedies and stuff in the movie theater anymore like I used to. Basically, when I see a good like that Seth Rogen comedy, The Long Shot, right, where he's the like political comedy thing.
Yeah.
Did it? Okay. As soon as I saw that in theaters, I was like, oh, I can't wait to Redbox that. Like, I'm going to pay $1.99 from that a few months from now.
And I completely understand where there's some movies that you don't want to see in theaters, and there's some that you do.
I basically only see event movies in theaters now, like, these massive, big-budget movies.
See, and I'm the complete opposite. Like, I will watch countless movies in theaters, even if they're not big event movies. Like, I'm one of those people that always watches superhero movies on Thursdays.
Right.
Because I like to be in the crowd with the nerds. I don't want to be in crowds with everybody
That's exactly
else.
basically what Huey just texted, that DC and Marvel really have made it cool to go to the movies again, like a big like event outing.
Yeah, and then you splice that in with Star Wars too, like.
Ugh. Which hopefully they don't fuck it up.
There's like you get watch parties for Game of Thrones. Imagine the watch party you would have for Star Wars, but it's not the same.
Dude, just wait. Like as soon as I guess maybe. Does anybody know when the Disney app is launching? Is it like October or something? Maybe. I'm just going by the. Let's say.
Well, how many episodes does The Mandalorian have?
Right.
Because
Let's say
it
it's
comes
like
out at Christmas.
8 or 10, right? So
the new movie comes out at Christmas.
right. So that's why I'm going October, maybe.
Yeah, probably like around Halloween.
Right. Yeah, I think it's gonna be huge.
Yeah. We'll see, man.
We will. Time will only tell. Huey said the app launch is November 12th. So really, you're gonna have like 2 solid months of just straight Star Wars hype, and that's, especially if you're Disney or something like that. That leads to merchandising.
Well, of course. I mean, you're right around Halloween. Everybody wants to dress up like the Mandalorian.
Yeah.
Because you're like putting
Well, it
all
wouldn't
that
have
stuff
premiered
out.
at that point.
No, but I'm just saying, like, you're putting that stuff out.
True, if it's trailers, stuff like that. Although,
Yes.
I'm going to go ahead. Let's see. Today is May 6th. I'm making a prediction that the most worn Halloween costume this year is going to be Joaquin Phoenix's Joker.
Maybe.
We'll see, yeah. But I'm putting that prediction in the books right now. Okay. Anything else to add on the IP wars there?
Nah, fam.
Cool.
We covered a lot.
Yeah. Basically, at the end of the day, stay tuned pretty much to see what's going to happen. But I think it's a solid bet on those 3 parties having the lion's share of what the future of streaming services hold, which is basically the future of entertainment.
Yeah, and you heard it first on Grassroots Comics.
There we go. Right.
Check us out on Twitter,
The IP wars.
Facebook. Facebook, Instagram, Reddit.
Right.
You got it. I
Yeah.
mean, we're putting it out right now.
Yeah.
So in 3 or 4 years, when you come full circle and Netflix is no more, and
Right.
Disney is taking over all of the United States,
And you're signing up for that AT&T Comcast thing
and you're putting
to
it in
read your DC comics.
and you're putting it in your
Oh, we're just gonna be like the people in Wall-E, right? Like in our little our little
cocoons.
balls. The producer's giving me the stare down. What's more likely? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So if you want to keep up with anything Grassroots Comics, our Facebook page is kind of the central location for that. Facebook.com/Grassroots Comics. You can also follow us on Twitter. That's @GRC Podcast. And we are on Instagram, just @Grassroots Comics. Please subscribe to the podcast wherever you are listening to it. We're basically available wherever fine podcast programs are found now. And it also helps if you will rate us. That helps out in the algorithm and stuff for
Rate us.
other people to find it.
not.
Right. So if you leave a 5-star review, no matter what you say in that review, we will read it on air. So if you want to be like, hey, this show is awesome, also check out my Kickstarter, blah, 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 at Interlink. As long as it's a 5-star review, we'll put that up and read it on the air for you. That's all I've got for you today. I've been your host, Carter Hutchison.
And your co-host Mike Thomas.
And this episode was produced by Huey V. We'll see you next time, kiddos.
This has been a Grassroots Comics production. Da da da! So what's your story?
What are you? Some kind of silly cartoon?
You got a problem with cartoons?